Homeschooling Nutrition 101. Would you agree that it's easier to find a Bible or math or art curriculum than it is to find a nutrition curriculum? If so, today's video is for you, my friend. I am so glad that you're here. You're going to learn about basics of nutrition, especially in a homeschool environment when you have the flexibility and the time freedom to teach what you want when you want and what is important for you and your family. And you want to be looking for some nutrition information that's going to be simple, easy, visual, and non-overwhelming. You're in the right spot. Hello and welcome. My name is Alicia Jones. I'm so glad you're here. I love the Lord. I love my family, and I love to help women grow in confidence through a healthy lifestyle. And I do that specifically by focusing on preventative nutrition through macronutrients. So you're going to hear some basics today about what you can do today. So simple. I bet you have a lot of the stuff in your fridge or pantry already, and you're going to learn how to put it together in a nutritious and fun way that your kids are going to love. You're going to feel awesome. Woo! Like finally you got this. And if you are already on a health journey and you're just looking to take it to the next level, this is also for you because I share a lot of the concepts, or the why, if you will, behind the what. So I hope this is fun and educational and interesting for you. Enjoy this conversation. This is between myself and Brittany. She's amazing, healthyhomeschoolmama.com. She loves to share from her perspective, and I was so thankful that she invited me in for a conversation specifically on nutrition. So we've got some resources for you below this video. Make sure you grab them, and let's get started with the conversation.
I have Alicia here, and I'm very excited about what she has to share with us. When I first really connected with Alicia, I was shocked on how little I knew about this topic. And I grew up with a chef for a grandma, so I was kind of surprised that I didn't know. So I just want to introduce Alicia and just tell me a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Thank you, Brittany, for having me. I'm honored. I know this is super fun. When you connected with me, I was like, yay, let's do this. So my name is Alicia Jones. Mom, I've been on my own health journey, and I have two young boys. They're 7 and 9, Gabriel and Michael. Get myself healthy 6 years ago. I had to lose a lot of weight. I was having really, really debilitating back problems. I had diabetes that runs in my family. I was borderline diabetic. So when you start to deal with all those things at a relatively young age, I'm 40 right now. And so this was I was 34. And so relatively speaking, that's kind of young. So to deal with this stuff where I couldn't get up off the floor, I was dropping things, my back was hurting. So when I kind of had this moment of, I collapsed in front of my son, who was 3, when I was carrying nothing heavy, it was blankets. And I was like, okay, to see the shock and the I want to say horror, like when a child looks at his mom and his mom can't take care of him, that's scary for a child. And so that was my come to Jesus moment, if you will, with my health journey to go, I got to do something. So basically what brought me here is to be able to go through this journey of learning and going through a program and learning basic. I thought, like what you said, Brittany, I was raised, in a relatively healthy home too. And I was surprised how much I didn't know. And so to come through an education program, an eating program, and then I went ahead and got certified as a health coach myself, just because I was like, this is really good stuff. And then to be able to, and it, like we all know as women, it's one thing to lose weight, but it's quite another to keep it off, to do that lifestyle change, and then I also discovered, and Brittany, you know this part of my story, to then teach your children what they can do in a very simple way, right? Because they're kids. So that was really my heart in doing this. And so just over the course of the years, I started developing these hidden veggie recipes, like brownies and cookies and totally normal stuff. So my kids would eat it in a healthy way. And then I could eat it too. And I've kept off all my weight. It was 60 pounds. For the record, kept it off for 6 years. My kids are at a healthy weight, and better yet, everybody just feels good in our family, because we've been able to help with that, lowering inflammation, the gut health, and the immunity, which is really important. So anyways, long story short, we got some hidden veggie recipes, learn about macronutrients, and kind of learn some of these basic things that now it's my privilege to be teaching other women and moms, both in person and online.
Just for the moms that are probably thinking hiding vegetables and food from your kids, Are you actually like hiding them, or is it pretty transparent in the household that they're in there, but it's just making the food better?
Ooh, that's a great question. I do both. Because I think, for example, like I teach my kids, we're eating raw veggies in our house. Like you can see here, carrots, spinach, peppers, apples, oranges, like we eat raw fruits and vegetables. And they also know that in order to eat healthy, we can make veggie-based things. So when I make things like cookies or snacks, for example, like these are examples of what I call snack cookies because they've got protein and vegetables in them. So it's not super apparent that there's veggies in here, as you can tell from the video.
Mm-hmm.
My kids at this point, however, know that mommy's stuff is always healthier. And at this point, this is way after I started. Don't do this on day one. They know which vegetables in here. They know there's carrots in here and there's sweet potato in here. There's spinach in their ice cream. Like they know that now because like you said, I think it's wise to teach the kind of behind the scenes what's going on.
Yes. There's actually a lot of studies showing that if you're just tricking your kids into it, it's actually not very beneficial. 100%. So that's why I wanted to bring that up because
I love
that's the first thing that popped in my head. Like,
Yeah. And you know what, to your point, and I'm so glad you said that, I don't believe in lying to my kids in any way. And I know we all do parenting differently. However, to your point, I've discovered that it's way more helpful for them to know that they're eating healthy stuff, that healthy can be fun and tasty and great. And they would prefer my pizza over a local delivery place that we have here, so I think that's really important to teach.
Yes. And it builds on top of a lot of what I talk about is as homeschool parents, teaching mostly the life skills. Like it's not difficult to find, the math curriculum and the science curriculum. But if you go out and try to find how to teach your kids how to eat healthy curriculum, how to teach your kids to cook for themselves, how to teach your kids how to, take care of your car, there's nothing.
Isn't that funny? Like, you'd think there would be, but like what you've discovered and how you're serving your audience, you're able to teach that and provide that. So I love that.
Yeah, that's a big focus for my family too. Like I said, like it's easy to find like the math and science. And honestly, you can teach all that stuff in a half hour a day instead of the 6 hours in school. But like me growing up, I had 6 different subjects and I had it all done in an hour and a half, 4 days a week.
Nice.
In high school. And high school is the longest days in homeschool. So
yeah.
Being able to add in different, like teaching the macronutrients like you do, being able to add in the life skills, because it's scary how few college students know how to cook for themselves.
Totally.
I think the number is 22% of college students know how to cook for themselves, and that includes the culinary students.
Oh, wait, that's like skewed data.
So most of them, barely can make top ramen.
Wow. Yeah.
So I have 2 boys, and a lot of people would be like, "Oh, they don't need to learn." Like, yeah, they do.
Yeah, because you hope they'll be out on their own, after high school for a while.
Not only like if they end up getting married to a woman, I don't want them to depend on her to cook all the time. And I know that I love when my husband cooks for me.
Right.
So there's no reason why they shouldn't know everything on how to be a functional adult. And that's part of school. So
absolutely.
I already mentioned that you talk about macronutrients. What exactly is that?
Yeah. Macronutrients are the building blocks of health. And I always show this hand motion because we're all kinesthetic learners, whether we're children or adults, but kinesthetic is best just because it sinks in your body. So building blocks of health. I like to explain it with Legos because as you can tell, I'm a mom of boys too. So building blocks of health, we're talking about the 3 basic Lego pieces, if you will. You're going to be building with your Legos, right? We all have seen these. Now, this is just an example I grabbed from my boys' bin over there, but basically we've got the 3 macros are proteins, carbohydrates, and healthy fat. Most people have heard those words, especially carbohydrates. People hear a lot about that, and more and more people are tracking with protein nowadays. And I noticed that not a lot of people are tracking that healthy fat is actually really important. And so basically I like to show people this because it helps with the understanding of how to put them together. Because that's cool if you got your Legos in your bin, but if you don't have instructions on how to build a spaceship, you're not going to have much of a spaceship. So like that with nutrition, right? And I'm showing you this because when I first started teaching classes, this was, gosh, a year ago, and I had mom friends go, Alicia, how do you make those black bean brownies? If you just teach a class, I will like pay you and sign up for it. Teach me how to do this. So in the class, we did this like with our kids. Okay, so proteins and carbohydrates, you want to have equal amounts. And I picked these pieces because look, they go together. Isn't that cool? They're from a Star Wars ship. Anyways, the point is that it's like half and half. You can just visualize Legos coming together. Half of your portion size of what you eat, protein, half of your portion size of what you eat, carbohydrates. And I'll give you examples of what these are in a second. I just kind of like to show the shape first. And then a tiny bit. See, this is just your typical little Lego brick, right? Tiny, small size. You compare it to the other ones. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of sense of what they are. Now, let me show you some fun examples of what these are. I showed you earlier, but carbohydrates are for energy. The function is energy. Like we all need energy, brain energy, body energy, good for the mom brain. Kids, they seem to have a lot of it anyway. So for us, we want some healthy carbs. Here's some quick examples. Vegetables and fruit. I have the fruits over here because I actually wanted to show it to you balanced, but basically, apples, oranges, any fruit that your family enjoys. Any veggies your family enjoys. I went ahead and brought out the graham cracker because let's be honest, most of us have these in our house, right? And so do I, and that's okay. And any, grains, pastas, rice, bread. Okay, those are your carbs, right? Your proteins the function is to build muscle, to build the building block. Every cell needs protein. So you figure muscle. Okay, cool. So basically we're talking about things like cheeses. This is just everybody mostly has string cheese in their house. Most people have lunch meat. This happens to be roast beef if you like that, whatever, turkey, ham. Anyways, the point is that those are some examples. Eggs most people have, peanut butter. Those are just real common examples of the proteins that most of us have in our home. And so the trick is the healthy fat. I think this is how some people get a little like, what is healthy fat exactly? Because it's usually with the protein. What I showed you, for example, we've all seen lunch meat, right? Like you probably figure there's a couple grams of fat in this roast beef, for example. Okay. Well, here's a cool way of kind of thinking about it. I wanted to show it to you what it looks like when you balance them together, like those Legos. Here's an example of a snack that I use in my family like almost every day. This is your basic little size snack bag, right? You guys have all seen these. See, there's a string cheese in there. That's your protein and your healthy fat. And then you can just see there's some cut up apple slices. There's only about 4 in here on purpose because we don't want huge portions. It is possible, even if you're eating in a nutrition way, in a macronutrient way, it's totally possible to overdo it on the calories. So I share that only because I don't make a big deal about that to my kids. I don't want to cause like a mindset issue or any kind of, thing that I had growing up. Totally other story. That was totally part of what I had to overcome in my journey. So I'm very aware of mindset stuff. But if you just give them a small portion, hey, here's half an apple cut up and some string cheese. That is a balanced protein, carbohydrate, right? Tiny bit of healthy fat in there. Snack. That's a great balanced macronutrient snack. So here's some examples of when you balance them together. That's something you can make easy peasy, right? Takes a couple seconds. Quick side tip, if you don't already, have you ever already tried this? Putting lemon juice on apples is awesome because it keeps them white for a couple extra days, right? You know that one? So I do, I'm actually I wanted to show you this because I think it's always fun to see things in action. I know I like that. And I know a lot of my mom friends do. Here's 3 of these bags that I just made while I was at it. So it's a cool way of kind of meal prepping in a simple, non-overwhelming way that while you have your apple out and while you're throwing the lemon juice on there, you may as well make a couple extra bags, throw the little cheese in there. And my kids will grab this out of the fridge or I'll throw it in their school lunches or whatever. It's very easy to grab and go. It doesn't cost very much either. So that's just an example. Something else that you can do example-wise, you've probably seen these kind of like cheese and fruit nut packs. You see something, I just grabbed this at it's our local Costco, for example, but this is a cool example. If you want to buy something at the store that's done for you, this is a great example. It's already balanced. Your cheese and your nuts are your protein and your healthy fat, and your dried fruit is your carbohydrate. So you get everything together in one little one thing. Interestingly, nuts are tricky. Nuts are cool because lots of people like nuts. Unless you have a nut allergy, then please don't eat nuts, because I know that's a thing for some people. My family's okay with nuts, so I hope you don't mind me showing this. I just want to share briefly that nuts are awesome because they're protein and healthy fat. Healthy fat keeps you full. It's awesome for gut health. So that's a good thing nowadays because the immune system's in your gut and we want to have that. However, if you take a quick peek at the numbers on the nutrition label, you'll see that there's carbs and protein in here. And the only reason you might care about that is you don't want a huge handful of nuts, just have like a smaller portion because there's already your fat, your protein and everything all together. So you probably want to just think of, small portions, just kind of imagine the Legos small. And then the last two ideas I'll give you, and just in light of what macros are, how they function, how you can kind of see some everyday examples of how this is used and how it might be helpful for you, is actually the cookies. I happen to show them already. This is a peanut butter carrot cookie, and this is a double chip sweet potato cookie. And both of them already have the protein in there, the like flaxseed, chia seeds, all that good gut health stuff. And they taste good, I promise. I know, well, you've tasted it, Brittany, but yes. I know if you're in the video, you can't taste it, but I promise they taste good. And the reason I share that, I know I'm kind of joking, but I believe that, healthy can be fun. Healthy can be tasty. And that's one of the reasons I started making all these recipes I ended up having to put them in a book, because people just kept asking, which is awesome. And I thought, how can I serve women who maybe don't live by me, that can't do a class together, and how can you just have a quick resource? So I ended up putting them together in a book because people want to know, hey, how do you make those cookies that your kids don't complain about eating? Love that. That's a good thing too. So I hope that helps, just kind of what macros are, the function of them, some everyday examples, and any of that stuff that I showed you is easy, because if I can do it, that means you can probably do it too. And hopefully that helps your family.
So, I actually got a couple of my questions in that one. So, your children are a little bit older, right?
7 and 9.
So, explaining like how all this works and why it's important to them, it's one thing to just provide it for them. You can provide all you want. Like my brother, for example, he never missed a meal. He had all the home cooked meals, but he doesn't have any idea how to cook because it was never actually taught to him.
Right.
How do you get your kids involved in the actual like prepping and understanding, and why teaching them how it's important for them? So even if they don't want to cook later, they still have the ability to do so.
That's a great question. Because like you said, just because kids may be healthy, or like even as a grown adult, like you said, your brother might be healthy himself, he may not understand like how to put it together. So I think part of that is just, for one, actually it goes back to what you said earlier, Brittany, about being honest. Sharing with my boys that mommy having to become, choosing, I shouldn't say have to, although I felt like I had to at the time. Choosing to become healthy and share that with them, even though it's not really super fun to look back at old pictures of myself. It's not fun to remember how badly that hurt. It's not fun to remember all that with the boys, and just kind of sharing that in like, hey, we can all grow and learn. And I did that because I want to be around you. I want to play with you. I want, so I think one is just being honest and sharing the story. Like, it's okay that you're learning, right? Like you and me and anybody else who's with us watching this video, that it's okay to start where you start, and just recognize we all have different backgrounds. I mean, you probably know some that I don't know, and vice versa, and that's okay. So sharing honestly, part of my journey with the boys, that was one thing. This is a rubber pound of fat and a pound of muscle. I think, Brittany, you've seen this before, but probably other friends on this video are like, what is that? I bought these things on online, and it's a very striking visual of what a pound of fat is. Only 1 pound, and it's like decent size, right? Like this would take up, you figure, a lot of space. A lot of us women have it here in the belly fat. I had 63 pounds all over me. It was not fun. So I get that. Like, I've been there, I get it. So I share that to go, most of us have it here, and most of us would prefer the muscle. So the boys ended up finding these, Brittany, and they were like, what's that? I'm like, oh. So that's kind of a funny thing. So like, not that you would probably have these laying around your house because that's weird, right? I did, because I was teaching it specifically, but I share this with you like out of funny, because Sometimes it's just the things you have around your house that you can turn into a teaching moment, and it's okay to be like, oh, that's really what that thing is. So anyways, that's kind of a funny thing. And the boys do get a kick out of this. And so what I've used it as a teaching thing to say, hey, you know, this fat, that's what I had to get rid of. And, you know, it's not super fun to have a lot of this, and because then you got to get rid of it, and it's kind of a bummer. So it's just more fun if you just keep yourself healthy, like as you're growing up, right? Because they're only 7 and 9. So that's been part of it, just the conversation, teaching things around the house. The other thing is that as I've been working with them, like on their dinners, for example, this is a dinner. You guys have these, right? You have all these plastic bowls and stuff. My kids may be 7 and 9, but this is actually how I do portion control. And because these are only a cup size, and this is how I have the boys help me. You asked me specifically, how do I involve them in meal prep? Well, I have them do stuff that they can handle. Like literally they can pick up a, you know, plastic bowl, because if they drop it, it's not going to shatter, even though they're 7 and 9. So I have them help me. I'll have them help me put, this is fun. You guys all like mac and cheese, right? This is a hidden veggie and extra protein version of mac and cheese. Now it's cold right now, so it doesn't look super appealing, but when you warm it up, it is like cheesy, gooey. Like I would eat it. It's amazing. So they like stuff like this, and I have them help me put it in the bowl. That's an example of how I would have them help me. And I also have them put their plates together. Again, now that they're a tiny bit older, 7 and 9. But you can see how the whole thing is plastic, right? It's easy for them to touch, kinesthetic again. And you'll also notice that there's just a couple carrots and a couple apples on there, because I find that the small portions, especially of the raw veggies, at least in my case, I don't assume for everybody, it was a little hard to get them to eat vegetables, like just straight up peas, carrots, you know, corn, like anything kind of basic, right? I truly had to start with, like, you might laugh, it was like 2 peas, 2 kernels of corn, and 1 carrot. Like that's it on their plate. But once I started that, I'm like, I have to get them to eat vegetables. I never stopped. It was on every lunch and every dinner plate. We skip breakfast that they could eat. So they had a thing, like they're not going to complain because it's only 2 carrots. So that was kind of a built-in habit that I did. And so the point of that, sharing that little backstory, is that when they help me make the plates, they don't even ask, what else do I need on the plate? They put on the 2 carrots and the 2 apples, and they don't say anything. And then they don't complain when they eat it, because it's just 2 carrots. Like, eat it and be thankful for what you have. So anyways, and this is a chocolate cake that it's hidden veggie. It's a new recipe I'm working on, kind of fudge chocolate cake. Anyways, so I've tried to make stuff that they like. I have them help me put it together. So that's one of the ways I involve them in meal prep. And then the other thing that they do get a kick out of is we like to use these lunch boxes. Have you guys seen stuff like this? Kind of the bento box style, right? You probably all seen this. Okay. So whatever style works for you, this happens to just be the one we have, because it actually is airtight and doesn't spill. So yay. They're small portion sizes. You can see how there's 5, right? They're only half a cup portion sizes. So I have the boys help me, similar to the dinner plates. Sorry, can't show you food in here, but you get the idea. You know, they'll put like some apples and carrots in one of those hidden veggie cookies, and like a quarter sandwich and a couple pretzels or something. But the point is they're doing it. So try to involve them, you know, because like you said, it's all about building skills, helping them learn, and God willing, when they're older, they won't need somebody else to cook for them, but they can help. So involving them, and then having them touch it and do stuff that they can handle. And then they know when they go to eat their lunch. By the way, we do this whether we're at home or whether we're out, because that's just a cool little, like, hey, throw it in a lunch bag with a nice pack and go. It's super fast. And for us, it saves a lot of money, because we can just have our own food that's healthier and less calories and less money. So anyways, those are a couple things that I like to do to get them involved.
It also helps with the habit building, like you were saying. It's just habit. They didn't need to ask you what's going on the plate, because it's just normal. And that's going to continue being a thing throughout their life, because it's just habits that you're building on top of each other. And it's not going to be anything unusual. So like, I had to add 2 carrots. Right. It's just a thing. It's not even something they think about anymore, because it's a habit. And habits are the building blocks of life.
100%. And it's so cool, because that's in all areas, right? And like, I know you've seen that, you know, education, parenting, health, relationships, you know, you name it, habits.
So we have like 2 more questions. What are the benefits of starting young? Like, my kids are 3, and while they can't really do a whole lot with me with cooking, Like one of the things I have them do is we have these little mini cookie cutters that are child safe, and I have them make fun shapes out of their sandwich.
So cool.
And like, what's the benefits of starting as a child?
Actually, I think it goes back to what you said a minute ago, Brittany, about building habits. It's okay. And then I know we all might have different parenting philosophies, but I love to teach and empower the boys to be independent, age appropriately. So when they can do it themselves, right? Like, I don't know, one of my boys has always said more than the other, Mom, I can do it. Okay. But like, isn't that what I wanted? Okay, yay, good job. So it helps, I think, benefits of starting young. It truly helps them, feel empowered, like they can do it within safety reasons, of course. And so that's a cool thing I've noticed. Totally having a little bit more fun with it, not complaining as much, like it's part. And so I guess for me, that's kind of more of a, like a home culture thing where we don't complain. We're thankful. We're grateful for what we have. And other people might have more or less than we do. It doesn't matter. But for what we have, we're thankful. And so I think it's that cool teaching opportunity, like you said, it's like those layering moments where they're doing something and you hear them say something and you're like, I can help kind of guide that. I can help shape that thought because they're little. And that's one of our, I believe, like blessings and responsibilities as parents. Like we get the opportunity and have the responsibility to do that, to help them with that. So for one, that's been a cool, like maybe heart development piece for us. And actually, okay, one other side note, that in terms of starting young, and my boys again are 7 and 9, so maybe slightly different ages. I know than yours for sure, but other moms watching this. So now they check in on each other, Brittany. It is so cute. Gabriel, who's 9, to Michael, who's 7. Did you eat your carrots? Like, Michael, you have to eat your carrots. And it's adorable because he's doing it with like all authenticity. Like, this is what we do in our family. And then Michael's like, I ate them, or like you can just kind of see that little banter back and forth in like a funny kind of, good way. So I think that because we have started young, they have that opportunity to kind of help encourage each other. And the other thing I will say too, and I'm not sure if it's part of the homeschool culture. I remember when we homeschooled as well, because been there totally like in the culture, which I loved. We had the opportunity as a homeschooling family to go to other events, still tons of birthday parties, tons of social stuff, right? Okay, so there's still all the things, right? What I noticed about my boys specifically, because of how I taught them these healthy habits, and this is what we do, when they went to birthday parties and all sorts of things, they actually had pretty decent, I want to say like sugar portion control. Like they didn't totally shove their faces, for lack of a better word, like with the birthday cake and the popcorn, and like they had a decent, like they would take some, and I'd always tell them like, it's okay to have some. I, again, don't want to like develop that mental thing. I just want to be like, small portions is fine. I mean, please don't eat the whole cake, but like have a bite, right? No, totally true. And so now, even today, this is so funny that you and I are doing this today, because today they have a holiday party at our school. So we're back on campus now. And that may not be the case for all mamas watching this video, but just like, go with me on the humor of this. They go to school and they're going to this holiday party. And there's, of course, the decorating the cookies and all the yucky, totally full sugar stuff, which I'm like not okay with, but you can't control everything. So there's the thing as moms, like, okay. And Michael, my 7-year-old, totally in the car. I was doing that, right? Brittany, I was like, okay, it's okay. It's like one day, my 7-year-old goes, I think I'm just going to have like 2 bites of the frosting. And then I was like, did he just by himself say like he was only going to have a couple bites of this cookie thing that they're going to do? I didn't even have to tell him anymore. So by now, right? Totally. Because we have started young. This totally goes back to your point that over time, it does not happen overnight. We all know this. I wish it did, but nothing does. Over time, it's built that internal habit, right? Those internal boundaries and those, self-responsibility and things like that we want in our children. By George, if he wasn't like, I'm going to have a couple bites and then I think I'll just throw the rest away. And I was like, thank you, Jesus, I'm doing something right. So all that to say, those are just examples of everyday life that happen because we started young.
That's awesome.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
So is macronutrients enough? Like, we all know that there's a lot of parts to being a healthy lifestyle. Is focusing on the macronutrients enough, or is it just one piece to eating healthy?
That's a great question. I think when you're asking enough, are you kind of thinking like in terms of vitamins, supplements,
Is it like one thing they can focus, like somebody can focus on, or is it just like, I need to learn some of this and I need to learn some of that? Because just focusing on the macronutrients, is that enough to be going towards a healthier lifestyle?
Oh yeah, yes, 100%. Yes. But macros are essentially like the smaller things, like vitamins, minerals, all the little like vitamin B, folic acid, and things that we might hear, even fiber, like something smaller than protein, carbohydrates, and healthy fat. Those are like big picture. Yeah. Big macro, right? Big macro is what macro means. And then micro is like the other stuff. I mean, we want to be thoughtful of fiber, sodium, other things like that. And the interesting part is it kind of goes one way. If you focus on macros, it will probably include the micros as you learn more, right? Because I know that was my case. I didn't know any of this stuff before 6 years ago. So I hope I'm sharing this in a way that like, this is just part of my journey. I've learned a lot in 6 years, but it's only been 6 years. So it's not like I grew up with, yes, I have a certification, but I don't have like all this background. You know what I mean? Like it was totally something that's doable, because again, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. But the point is that it does not go the other way. If you start with micros, it does not cover macros. Yeah.
You start big and then you zoom in, but if you start zoomed in, you can't see the big picture very well.
Well, and you know what you just did with your hands is perfect, because isn't that an educational philosophy thing too, where we go from general to specific, and we can give the context of what we're teaching and then really hone it in or dial it down to what the specific thing is. So absolutely, and to your point, and maybe you do this too, but I do give my kids like a vitamin supplement every day and a probiotic supplement every day. And I know that that's just, which is part of what we do. Like I wouldn't do that without the macros.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So now I always like to have like actual action steps, because it doesn't matter how much information you shove into somebody's brain. It's useless if you don't know how to move forward with it. So what are some simple steps to avoid, like, because I'm a big believer in don't change your whole lifestyle overnight, because it's not going to sustain. It's just going to fall apart in 2 days.
Yeah.
That.
It does.
Especially with eating. So what are some simple things that families can start doing? And maybe you could talk about your book a little bit more.
If you try to make some big change in any area, I mean, in your marriage, in your parenting, and in your education, like it's not going to go very far, which is funny, but not, because it really doesn't. And we've all probably experienced that. I know I have. So yes, small steps, one thing at a time. I would say, in order to, because I think your question was like, how do you get started with macros in some kind of simple or non-overwhelming kind of way, tangible. So I don't know, truly the first thought that came to mind, because like you could start with anything. You might just want to start with snacks, because most of us, adults and children, eat snacks multiple times a day, hopefully, probably, right? That's a good thing, by the way. That good isn't beneficial, like as in that revs your metabolism. So yay, even for mamas who would like to lose weight or keep a healthy weight. Truly, that was me. That was it still is part of my strategy. I still eat snacks every couple hours, because it just revs your metabolism every couple hours. So that's cool as an adult. Kids do that naturally, but anyways, side note. So I think that's probably how come that came to my brain first, is start with snacks. That way you're not trying to, overhaul, like you said, all my dinners and all. Okay, no worries. One thing at a time. So I'll just show you one more time, because I think this is, these are just totally things I pulled out of my fridge 5 minutes before you and I hopped on Zoom, which is just as real as it can be. Something simple like a cheese stick and apples. That's a great balanced macronutrient snack that you can have. Something like, this is almost like a packaged version of it, right? Like that cheese and nut and dried fruit thing that I bought. This is at Costco, for example. I just bought it in bulk, which for us helps save money. So I think that's kind of nice too. That's the other cool thing, just side note. Eating healthy doesn't have to be expensive. It can be expensive. It totally depends on budget and everybody's personal experiences. I just like to mention that, because I do think that when you do things in bulk and kind of break it down, it doesn't cost as much. Like for example, when I buy cookies, so something else you can do snacks wise, these are some examples you can buy. You can buy nuts. Those are great to have around. Small portion. I mean, don't overdo it on the nuts. I think if you're already having your kids eat fruit, for example, most of my mom friends that I chat with are like, oh yeah, here's your apple for your snack. And my first thought is, can you have a string cheese too? Like here's a, so just be thoughtful and you may not like string cheese, fine. Do like hard-boiled eggs, or if you like cottage cheese, even cream cheese, it's got some protein in it. You'll just kind of look at the back of the nutrition label and you'll just notice. It's so cool. Once you start to be aware of something, right, your brain notices it, which is cool. Just kind of notice and go, oh gosh, that cottage cheese, it actually has like 12 grams of protein. Cool. Like that's pretty good, So those are just some super simple things you can put together. And honestly, again, even if you give them a graham cracker or some crackers, which may or may not be the most like raw, natural, healthy food. Okay, fine, but it's part of life. At least most of us, just to be totally honest. I always give this like with some peanut butter or with some nuts. Because we've probably all experienced, just because you eat a graham cracker or your kid eats a graham cracker, you're probably hungry like 5 minutes later. So truly it ends up being empty calories, which is a bummer because then you have the calories that you can't burn and then there's no protein. You're like, I'm still hungry. So if your kid tells you they're still hungry after the graham cracker, they're probably telling the truth because it's the thing. So I hope those are just some tangible, like simple things you can buy in one place. I like grab and go stuff. It just saves me time. I mean, and I don't know about you, but time is never something I feel like I have enough of. I'm efficient with time. Like I wish I could say I can save you time. Like maybe not, but I can teach you how to be efficient with time for sure. Right. And so like this is one of those efficiency things where you make a cookie, for example, that's got the protein, the veggies and the flaxseed and everything else in it. So like here, and yes, there's a couple chocolate chips. Of course it tastes like a cookie. Like I'm not going to sit here and give my kid, but it's not real sugar either. It's a plant-based sweetener that does not impact the blood sugar. And the reason anybody cares about that is we all know what that's like when a kid has a sugar high and then a sugar low from, typical sugars that they might eat. Okay, well, this prevents that. Okay, this keeps everybody even, including everybody's attitude and their mood because it's the blood sugar. Okay, so that's how come I made these. These are awesome and they're super easy. And yes, I batch these. So I will make like 3 batches at a time, throw it in the freezer, and I can pull it out for weeks because you probably only eat a couple at a time. So these kinds of things, if this sounds helpful for you, these are the things that started this whole journey of like teaching classes and putting together a book because my mom friends wanted to know what I was doing. And after teaching so many classes, other people in other countries and cities and continents even were like, how do you do that? So this is the book. It's available on Amazon and it's truly like the best $15 you'll ever spend. In terms of a guide, in terms of education, I treated this like a curriculum book, to be totally honest with you. And I'm telling you this not only because I know you serve homeschool families, but we are both educators. And I know this is how we parent anyway. So what you'll find, and I know Brittany, you have this anyways, there's a whole 31-day snack list in here, done for you, macro balanced already. Just read it and put it together and give it to your kid. That's awesome to have because it saves a bunch of time. There's a portion size, there's like a guide that you can just do with your hands. So it's super simple. Hi, kiddo. What I shared about macros today, I went into a little bit, I listed everything else. It was almost like everything I said verbally is like printed as a guide, right? Because it's nice to be like, wait, what'd she say? I don't know. So it's here. And then everything in between is all those kinds of fun recipes. And truly, I've had so many mom friends who have what I want to say, like, quote unquote, picky eaters. Okay, let's just call it what it is. And that's a thing, and right? And that's okay. And I will tell you that one of the best things in here for all my picky eater mom friends, because that was the one piece of feedback my mom friend was like, I don't know if I can get my kid to eat it. 2 things in here like saved her life, which I was so thankful for. I will just share with you. These egg bites for breakfast, she made them all for her kiddos. She messed around with the different veggies because they didn't like peppers. So she put something else in there, but like, see, she's being creative. But the thing is she had a tool to start with to be creative with. So it was super cool because that worked out beautifully for her family. And then another one that was a real like blessing was these simple meatballs and hidden veggie breadsticks. They're garlic cheese breadsticks and they have vegetables in them. I know. But it helped my other friend, picky eater. She sent me a picture of her son like trying it. It was the sweetest thing because she's like, it was a win. And you know how good that feels when something that's been a challenge. And while this, probably hasn't changed everything about her life, it sure as heck helped with her picky eater situation. And if you can just have a little relief in one area of your life, it's a win. So that's how, there's like black bean brownies in here, sweet potato cookies, all sorts of stuff, and fudge and things like that. You tried the fudge, Brittany, you know about that. This is just, it's going to become a resource is what it is. And then I love to serve women on YouTube with the channel. I have a Facebook community, what else? Website, on-demand cooking classes. If you don't want to do it with somebody and you kind of like to do things on your own time, because a lot of times it can fit in like, oh, it's later at night and everyone's asleep and now I can do a class, like push play. So I just made those available on my website because after a while that was what was more helpful for moms to do that. So that's available too. But I think those just kind of resources and just hopefully sharing in a fun and easy way allows it to be adaptable. Like if families have food allergies, dairy-free, gluten-free, vegan, egg-free, that it's like kind of covered in there because I try to do different things. We do have food allergies situations. So I try to be thoughtful of that and sensitive to other families that might experience that as well. And truly, I hope it's just a tool that like any mom can pick up and go, okay, I can do this. I might need to change that one thing because, oh, we're allergic to that. Okay, fine. And I can help with that too. And I think you've experienced that. I know I've even had to make some tweaks too. So hope that helps.
Awesome. And I will be linking all of that, whether this is on YouTube or on my blog. You will have all of those resources available so you don't have to search for them. And I really appreciate all your help today. It was super informative and hopefully it helps, because I know that when you want to start eating healthy and you want to start moving your kids' habits towards that direction, the very first thing is like, I had no idea where to start. Start with the big stuff like macronutrients. Don't get overwhelmed. Like you said, start with snacks. And slowly start making changes. When one thing becomes a habit, it's easier to add another change and create another habit. Do not try to change your entire life in one night. Please.
I agree.
So I hope this was helpful, and I will see you in the future, wherever you are, YouTube or blog. And yeah, bye.
Awesome. Bye. Thank you for having me.